Welcome back to the vlog, and welcome here to Hoskins, Papua New Guinea. We're just jumping over to the other side of the island this morning, 7:30 in the morning, and dropping off some fuel and some propane. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Igniter's on, fuel pump on, and low start. Over 14% NG. Introduce my fuel. ITT is coming up just as normal as always, watching just the trend to see how fast it's coming up that little green arch. Make sure it doesn't go into yellow or red. Generator on, pop forward, and our V2 track on. Yeah, it's just a 21-minute flight over there, and got a good weather report over there. So the radar looks like it's raining, but I guess it's just a lot of high clouds with a lot of moisture, cold moisture up high. That makes it look like it's raining. Let's check our fuel caps and selectors. Our controls are all good. We'll leave TAW as enabled for the time being. My radar warming up. Precision instruments will go up to 5,000 feet today on the way over there. And let's take a look at my weight real quick. So I've got minus 76 on equipment. I've got 6 seats off today. My payload is 225. I've got 910 pounds of fuel, which is a lot for this little tiny flight. Coming down here, 330 is what I'd put in here, which I've already got. 330 in my cargo. I've got 910, so we're at 5,900 pounds straight up today. It says it's 5,902, so we're within 10 pounds, so that's good. So 59, we're going to rotate it, let's say 57 and 67 if we have to come back in. Flaps are set, indicated, and verified at 20 degrees. Moresby 8861, November Tango Zulu taxi.
November Tango Zulu Moresby, good morning, go ahead.
Morning, November Tango Zulu taxi Hoskins, Gasmata, 1 POB.
November Tango Zulu, no reported traffic, type check 2131.5.
November Tango Zulu. Alright, local QNH 1007, let's set up both of those. All stations, Hoskins 127.1, Kodiak November Tango Zulu. We'll be rolling on runway 12 for departure to the south. We'll be at climb below 5,000. All stations Hoskins. Okay, left and right. Put our strobes on once we get on. If we are not 50 knots by the 1,500 foot marker, we'll go ahead and stop on the runway. After takeoff, we'll pitch for 85 knots. Consider EPL. Consider feather. We'll go to the field up there off to the left a little bit. Pitch for 85, 80 full flaps, close to the ground. Masters, crack my door in emergency. 25 degrees sea level, 1680, so 1630 for 1680. So, ignition, condition, flaps 20, fuel and harnesses. 1680, rotate at 57. There's 50, there's 57 and rotate. And just keep my ITT right at the very top of the green arc, which is 740. I'm going to adjust my trim just a little bit. This is for my elevator trim, so that I can remain 85 knots on my climb out. It's in case I were to have an engine failure with 20 degrees of flaps. It's going to give me my best option of not just falling out of the sky. Over 85 knots and climbing, we'll go 10 degrees of flaps. And then over 90, we'll go 0 and also bring our prop on back to 2,000 RPM. My ITT is already at 728. I'm just going to let it try to settle on down to 720 for my climb. If it doesn't, in the next 30 seconds or so, then I'll start adjusting it, but we'll let it sit there just for a second. Moresby 8861, November Tango Zulu departure.
November Tango Zulu, Moresby, go ahead.
November Tango Zulu departed Hoskins, time 34, tracking 179er on climb below 5,000, estimating Gas Mata 55.
November Tango Zulu, copied, LTNH
1006, November Tango Zulu. Alright, so I have not adjusted my ITT at all, and now it's at 722. So it was 728, so it's slowly gone down, so I'm just gonna, actually now it's 721. I'm just gonna let it sit there just for a second as we climb a little higher. It might drop down just 1 more degree. Let's do our cleanup. Engine inlet back to normal, igniters are turned off, and landing light turned off. Once we get around this big old mountain right here, we'll get on course, and I wanted to walk you through what we use for our weight and balance on this plane. Just because I've got a big drum of fuel back there, and I don't really have much underneath today, but I wanted to show you how we figure out, because I was going to do it yesterday on our load, and then I forgot just because the busyness of the day completely just made me forget my train of thought, what I was actually going to talk to you guys about. Oh, autopilot on. And looks like we can see all the way across the island this morning, so that's nice. That looks good out towards Goroka as well, which is where I'm heading out. Come back here to Hoskins and then come back and go on to Goroka. So I am heading from Hoskins down here to Gas Mata. We're here in Papua New Guinea today. Then I'll be flying right back, and then I'll be flying all the way over here to Goroka. So another 2-hour flight back home. But you guys have seen this before. This is just an Excel program just to switch basically kgs to pounds and vice versa and take our seats out. So I know a lot of you guys have written comments about being concerned that I'm going to screw up some numbers because it's kgs and pounds, and is it going to be confusing? Or really, kgs and pounds are just a designation for a number. I mean, so if I'm flying with 910 pounds, but I have 225 kgs of cargo on board, I could care less. It's just a number. It's just 910, it's just 225. This does all the calculations, and it spits out the proper either pounds or kgs in the proper line that I need to put into whatever this is. So it does all the math and everything for you so that you don't have to do any thinking.
And departing to the west.
So today I've got 76 kgs of seats off. I'm 85 kgs with my bags. I've got 225 kgs of cargo and 910 pounds. So it spits out, my packs and pounds are 329. So 329 pounds is basically what I have. And the reason why that's lower than the 225 kgs is because I have seats off on. So it does all the math with that. So anyways, that's what we do, at least for just kind of a quick, here's how much you have, you're not overloaded. So the way we actually do our weight and balance is this Aviation WB. I'm not an affiliate or anything, it was just the app that we use. But, so today I have, I'm just now leveling off almost 5,000, almost 200 feet to go. I'm 85, a row 2, which is the first seats right here, there is nothing in there. Row 3, 4, and 5, I don't have any seats on board. My front pod underneath, we'll figure that one out in just a second. So I know that my fuel drum back there is 187 kgs, so we had 225. I've got 38 kgs underneath my front pod down there. All right, we're leveling off of 5,000. Let's bring our torque on back. The 1250. A little bit of that right rudder pressure out now that we don't have quite as much torque wanting to pull us left. Oh, my front pod is 38. I don't have everything in my second pod. Zone 2, which is where the seats are, nothing. Looks like my zone 3 is where my fuel drum is, 187. Zone 4, zone 5, and the aft cargo shelf, I probably have maybe 20 kgs of just some of my own stuff on board. Oh, there we go. like there's no way I'm out. There we go. Zone 5 is 0. So it spits it out real quick right now, and basically I know that I can usually get around 640 kgs if I evenly space them out between all of my zones, as long as I have 100 kgs in my front pod. I know that that will work because I've done this so many times, and I can also just quickly look at the tail stand, see how far it's drooping in the back, and quickly go, oh, that's really close. I think I need to run a weight balance. Or, yeah, I've done this, loaded the plane hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, that I just know real quick, yeah, this is going to work or this is not going to work. So we've tried every configuration to figure out what works and what doesn't. So anyways, that's what we do for our weight and balance, and how we figure out to make sure that we are within CG and not going to kill ourselves. We've only got 10 or 12 minutes left, so let's set up my descent profile down to 1,000 feet. And we'll do it at 800 feet per minute. So you can see right here it has top of descent, and that will just be in a couple more minutes. But I was just out here just the other day, and there was a yacht out here that was actually, at the time I thought they were just looking for a crashed World War II plane. Some Australian, I think his grandfather had crashed his plane in this bay, and they went and they actually found the plane, pulled it up, pulled the prop off and everything. So really cool story. Anyways, I just saw them out here, and I guess they just recently had lifted the plane and stuff. I didn't see it, and I thought it'd be cool. I don't know if they just dropped it back down after they got the prop off, but I thought it'd be really cool if they actually put it up on land. I don't know if they're going to or not. But anyways, really cool World War II history out here. I've got a on-the-ground video, I'll link below to my Patreon page. They've got some like Japanese crash planes out here that are just really, really cool to look at. And you know, it's PNG, so you can just climb all over it, and yeah, nobody cares. So if you guys have a question for me, down below there's this reply bank. It's a way that you can ask me a direct question, like video. You can send me a video question, or you can just type it up, and I'll send you back a personalized video answer, usually within the same day. Unless I'm just crazy busy with work, I can always get back to you guys the first day. So send you guys a personalized answer to whatever it is that you guys are just dying to know. If I haven't been able to get to one of your questions and one of your comments down below, I sure do appreciate everybody leaving those, and I do try to get to as many as I can. But weeks like this week and last week, where it's just like full on every single day flying, 8 to 9 hour days, I just sometimes don't have time. So that's the best way if you really, really want to get an answer answered, or a question answered, not an answer answered, a question answered. We are just now 7 minutes out, so let's go ahead and start up our checklist. Selectors and brakes. Our fuel selectors and brakes. Our TAWs, we've already got turned off because we'll be coming in. We don't want Betty yelling at us. Our VREF, which is just our approach speed. Technically, it's the approach speed over like the threshold, blah, 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 but we basically fly our VREF all the way down on final. We don't change it at all just because we're flying at a more minimum speed. So technically it still is VREF for all you. Right, 5810. Our VREF's gonna be 66 knots. Lights and inlets. If we have to go around for any reason, we'll just probably go straight ahead, or maneuver is required, but we'll go power up 20 degrees, pitch for 73 knots, and then reset our ITT. So the reason why I'm doing it in that order, rather than just
vertical
going
track
full, there's Betty, we said 800, because we'll over torque this plane at sea level very, very quickly. Probably before we're over temp it, but we'll over torque it and we'll ruin the engine, or cost a lot of money to get an inspection done and blah, blah, blah. So I power up just about halfway. I pitch for 73 knots. I pull up my 20 degrees of flap so I can climb out. 73 is my best angle. So I'm gonna climb out like in the shortest amount of distance, the highest amount of altitude. And then I look down here. So I've done all that critical stuff just to get up and out of there, and as I'm climbing, then I look back here and then reset my ITT to 740, which is the top of the green arc, so I can get my maximum climb performance. So that's why I'm doing it in that specific order. If it's like a real go around, if there's kids on the runway or something else, then yes, it is very easy to almost over-torque it. I've almost over-torqued it myself, especially at sea level, because you're kind of like, oh crap, and then you just push it forward and you're not thinking as well. So that's why it's really good to prep yourself before every landing, even if you're going into a big paved runway in a 152 or something. You never know when there's maybe a deer or a rabbit or, I don't know, whatever else. Something's not looking quite right. Just because you have to go around doesn't mean you're a bad pilot. It means you're a wise pilot. Turn our altitude select down to 1,000 feet. Puts a nice blue arc here to let me know when I'm going to get to my selected altitude. All stations, Gasamada 127.1, Kodiak, November Tango Zulu, 10 miles to the north, 3,600 on descent, circuit time, Gasamada 53. So the strip chart's saying that it's sea level, go figure, 10 feet, runway 09er and 27. And 830 meters long and pretty much 0% slope. So I'm planning on landing on runway 09er because that's the way the wind has been going, although it's saying it's coming more from the west today. So let's just fly up closer, down to 1,000 and then reevaluate, and I might just land on runway 27 because I don't think I've ever landed on that way with you guys in a video before. It's actually a really cool approach, right over the water. And the runway starts like at the water. So I'm gonna hit my heading on my autopilot, OBS, and let's just turn it to runway 27. That's still showing the winds there. Puts a nice line there. I'll fly right overhead, and as of right now, we'll just land on 27. If we do need to go around, we've already talked about prop and harness. Get in just a second. It's got to be the weirdest fly I've ever seen. It's yellow. I don't think I've ever seen a yellow fly before. Moresby 8861, November Tango Zulu in the circuit Gasamada, cancel SAR.
November Tango Zulu, Gasamada,
November Tango Zulu. All stations Gasamada, November Tango Zulu be flying overhead to join a left down runway 27, Gasamada. Yeah, I was just looking, now the winds completely swapped from this way, now coming from this way, just 1,000 feet lower. It's alright, it's only 2 knots, so we'll just land on runway 27. You can see there's a couple, like 3 crashed airplanes that are just sitting down there, right on the edge of the runway. Really awesome. Alright, we'll plan to land around the first cone in. That'll give me a little bit of time to slow down. So 10 degrees of flaps, prop and harness is done. Our downwind. Reducing my power, 20 degrees of flap. We'll reduce our torque on down to around 450, 400 to 450 now that we're ready to beam our numbers. This is where it's really nice to have our OBS set up because you can just know that you're 100% parallel with your runway at all times. What, 66 on final, 76 and 86. I'm slowing to 86. And I'm a little bit higher than I wanted to be. 1.6 nautical miles, we'll turn our base. There we go. I'll slow into 76 knots. Turning final 500. Now the wind's saying it's coming from that way 2 knots, so doesn't really know what to do today. Went up on 500, reduce my power just a tiny bit, full flaps, checklist is complete. Turning final, right at 500 and slow into 66 knots. Let's 2 knots of headwind, that's good. Alright, we are continuing. A little slippery. When I get stopped by the parking bay. About. That's when you're late. Anyway guys, this is Gasmata. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Sure do appreciate it. I'll be heading back. I'll see if I have enough battery power on my other batteries to fly back with you guys back to Hoskins. So give it a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy this video. And as always, consider subscribing if you think this stuff is worthy to watch again. Our blowers off, all of our lights off, everything else. Thank you guys, see you next time.